We have another question that's posted there. Is Christmas supported biblically? I know we are in this so-called festive season now, and someone wants to know whether or not this is something that is mentioned in scriptures as something that we should be doing. So I'll turn this back over the panel for that particular question.
Yes, thanks very much for that question. To the viewer that posted it, Christmas is definitely something that is not biblically supported. It is not something that has its origins within Scripture. History shows us that it was put together and compiled later, much later, and then added to church doctrine. We don't find it in the book of Acts, the history of the early church. We don't find any situation in there. We don't find it in any of the New Testament's writing where the apostles assembled and came together to commemorate Jesus' birth. We don't find that anywhere in Scripture. What we do find in Scripture, however, in Jeremiah, is an old pagan practice that was condemned by the prophets. The practice of bringing trees into the homes, decking it with silver and gold, all right, and fancing it up. In that sense, we find that in the book of Jeremiah, where Jeremiah speaks out against such practices, and we see those practices being incorporated and then later brought into the church under that disguise. So once we look at the origins of these things, we can see clearly, number one, Jesus was not born on December 25th. There's no biblical stance for that. The apostles, no point ever one time assembled after Christ's death and resurrection and ascension. We don't see anywhere where they assembled to commemorate his birth anniversary or anything to that effect. So when we look at Christmas and several other holidays that have been introduced to the church, we have to look at their origins, and then we'll be able to see that these things are not of Scripture, but most definitely they have been brought into the church at a later time. And the Scripture warns us in St. Matthew 15, the Scripture warns us that we should be very careful when we go against the commandments of God for the traditions of man. We should be very careful concerning that when we are called and commanded by God to observe the days that he has set to us and have given to us, and that we should not look to the right nor to the left. But then when we are asked to ignore the commandments of God and to embrace man-made traditions, Rabbi Jesus told us in St. Matthew 15, I think verses 3, that we should be very careful concerning the traditions of man being placed over the commandments of God. So there is no biblical base for it. History shows that it's something that was later compiled and put together and then brought into the church. So we don't have any biblical stance or base for it. If someone else on the panel would like to add to that.
Praise, honor, glory to the God of Israel. So the elder in our midst. See, to the panel and to the viewers, the listeners, I want to say shalom. Peace be unto you. Just to add on what the elder was just saying there concerning no way in Scripture we could prove that Christmas is one of the days of the Holy Father, but this is a man-made custom, and we know where it comes from. Doing our research on it, we see clearly that it's a pagan custom, But I just wanted to add to that. Looking at the scripture that the elder just quote there in Matthew 15:3, I want to add Leviticus 23 from verses 1. We see clearly that the Father gave us his feasts, all right? And if we can find no other way in scripture to prove that there's other feasts, well, then we shouldn't follow the other feasts, all right? But in Leviticus 23:1, the Father shows us what is his feasts. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much there, Prince Akili, for your contribution. Anyone else from the panel?
Yes. I must say all praise be to the most holy one of Israel. Just want to quickly look at the scripture that the elder had just mentioned on. So Jeremiah 10 from verses 1. If we can have a reader. Just want to quickly look at it because as the elder rightfully said, it's an old pagan custom, right? Yeah, from verses 1.
Hear ye the word of the Lord. Hear ye the word which the Lord speaketh unto you, O house of Israel.
Yes.
Thus saith the Lord, learn not the way of the heathen.
No, the first thing we must understand that the Most High he's instructing us not to learn the ways of the heathen, right? And it continues.
And be not dismayed at the signs of heaven.
Yes.
For the heathen are dismayed at them.
Continue.
For the customs of the people are vain.
Right.
For one cutteth a tree out of the forest, the work of the hands of the workman with the axe.
No. Here the scripture continues to tell you of the customs of the people. Cutting a tree out of the forest, the work of a workman with an axe. Okay? Yes, verses 4.
They deck it with silver and with gold. They fasten it with nails and with hammers.
That it moves not, right? So this scripture is pointing out that the practice is an old pagan custom, right? The name for the name Christmas tree was not applied to it, but here the prophet is speaking of one cutting a tree and decking it with silver and gold. But the thing is, the Most High asks us to not to follow these customs, right? And just to quickly point out in Colossians 2 and verses 8, I just want to quickly read the scripture, and I'm going to pause there. In the book of Colossians 2 and verses 8.
Beware,
Yeah.
lest any man spoil you through philosophy and vain deceit.
No, the apostle here is saying, asking us to beware, to be watchful, to be on guard, to be on the lookout. Lest any man spoil you. Yes?
Through philosophy and vain deceit.
Through philosophy and vain deceit. So when we look at these traditions of men, these pagan traditions, it is important that we stay away from them. We were commanded in Jeremiah not to learn the ways of the heathen. So this is just what I want to point out at this time. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, dear. Thank you very much, dear, Prince Akona, for that. Prince Hadariki, see you have your hand up. Go right ahead.
Thank you. Hallelujah to the Most High God, God of Abraham, Isaac, and Israel. To our elder is within our midst. To fellow panelists, to all our brothers and sisters who's gathered, including our visitors, I say shalom to you. Peace be unto you. I would just like to quickly point out just a couple of things, just briefly. If we take a look at Matthew chapter 2, verses 1 to 2, please. Matthew chapter 2, verses 1 to 2. But this is something that I on a constant basis, I would speak to people from time to time And whenever I speak of the wise men, I would normally ask them this question. So if we just read the scripture, please.
When Jesus was born in Bethlehem of Judea, in the days of Herod the king, behold, there came wise men from the east of Jerusalem.
Sorry, I think you missed something there. How many wise men were there?
Just wise men.
Right. Now that is one of the biggest holes in the actual Christmas story, as minuscule as it appears. It shows you right away that they have added something to the scripture, and the word said that we should not add, or take away. Clearly, it didn't say how many wise men they were, but for some reason or another, they had integrated a number which they didn't get from the Bible to put towards this Christmas story, or what was called Christ Mass before it became Christmas. It's not difficult for us to find out and to figure out that is actually something that is actually pagan. It is consistent with the Christian religion, in that wherever you look at, whether it's Christmas or it's Easter or it's Halloween, we see that it didn't come from Christ, or it didn't come from the Bible, but rather it was actually something that is pagan. If you please move on to verse 2, please. Verse 2.
Saying, where is he that is born King of the Jews?
Now, you would like to think that if let's just say hypothetically that Christmas is actually a thing. It says that Jesus was born King of the Jews. Now, even if there was something like Christmas, don't you think that it would have been the Jews who would have been celebrating this holiday? Because he was born a Jew, he did all the practices of a Jew, and even when he died, upon the inscription above the cross, it says Jesus, King of the Jews. So at no time was he anything else but a Jew. So even if there were supposed to be some kind of celebration for his birthday, most certainly it would have sprung out of the Jewish religion. And clearly we see that that is not the case. So it's just a reminder for us to take a very close look at some of the things. Time does not permit for me to actually go into the whole Christmas story, but there are so many holes in it that it's so unbelievable that people are still following it. But that's my contribution for now. Thank you and shalom.